Drugs were not my problem. They were my solution to the problems I had going on inside. It's pretty well known that there's an opiate crisis all throughout the country, but especially here in New England, Vermont and New Hampshire. Vermont, per capita, has the worst heroin addiction problem in the country. I started using when I was 11 years old. I tried to get clean in 2011, 2014. A lot of people will say, well, addiction is not a real illness. You chose to do drugs. Like, yeah, I might have chose to pick up drugs, but whether it was my environment when I was a kid, my chemical makeup as a human, I was predisposed to be an addict. Drugs were not my problem. They were my solution to the problems I had going on inside. Lost my dad when I was 11 years old, so I'm the man of the house with 2 sisters and a mom. He was an addict, so I grew up going to AA meetings, going to visit him in rehab. So you can say all you want about it not being an illness, but I didn't choose to be an addict. I chose to pick up drugs the first time. After that, it wasn't a choice anymore. What changed for me, they say in different self-help groups that there's, 3 places you're gonna end up if you keep using: jails, institutions, and death. I've done everything but die. So I had to make a choice whether I wanted to continue down the path of being miserable, pushing every good person away in my life, never having a real good healthy relationship, being broke all the time, or dying. And I didn't want to do that, so I decided to get clean. Nobody forced me to go to rehab. Nobody forced me to go live in a sober house. I made those decisions because I finally hit the bottom to the point where I was actually ready to get clean. It's unfortunate, but not everybody gets there. You get all these people who are making it impossible for these people to stay clean by not hiring them or having just this negative connotation. Why should we make it any harder for somebody to get clean than it already is? Right now, you go to rehab maybe for 14 days. Then if you're lucky, you get into a sober house, or you go right back where you came from. How does that promote sobriety or staying clean, going back to the same situation you were in before? It's not even a drug problem, to be honest. It's a mental health problem. All these mental illnesses are going untreated because, in my opinion, big pharmacy runs the country because it all comes down to the dollar. They don't care if you get clean or not. They want you to keep spending your money on drugs, which in the early 90s, all the doctors overprescribing opiates. That's why we are where we are. The old adage of heroin addict being the guy under the bridge in New York City, that's not it anymore. It's the doctor's kids, it's the lawyer's kids, it's your neighbor. Chris Herring from the Celtics, he was a professional basketball player. He was a heroin addict, getting high before he played games. Like, it touches everybody, man. There's no place that addiction hasn't reached, and it's gonna continue to reach until we get people to educate themselves and start making real change. So the name of the show is Against All Odds, The Road to Recovery. Okay. We're basically going to try to raise awareness and raise the stigma surrounding people in recovery.
What do you think works for raising awareness and for helping break the cycle of addiction?
Education.
Okay.
We got to educate people.
How can you reach people to educate them?
By doing the show, hopefully that's one outlet. Okay. But also getting to and talking to kids in school. Just get people to open up a book and gather information from more than one source so they can be as informed as they possibly can be. Get people to start thinking for themselves and wanting to learn more and not settling. There's better things in life than sitting around. Go out and make some memories. Go see someplace you've never been before.
What was the turning point that has been helpful for you now? 68 days or whatever you mentioned?
68 days.
Yeah.
I just finally got to the point where I said enough's enough and decided to get help. And you can't be afraid to ask for help. You can't do it alone, man. Maybe some people can. I couldn't. I thought I could do it alone. I'm smart. I have a degree in criminal justice. Played 3 sports in high school. Played football in college. It didn't matter. I'm not strong enough to do it alone. You gotta ask for help. You can't be afraid to ask for help. You gotta be humble and you gotta keep an open mind and be willing to do whatever it takes to stay clean, because in my addiction, I did whatever it took to get high. I've been to almost every part of this country, and every place is beautiful in its own right. Every place is like, how do you know this is where you want to be if you've never been anywhere else?
How was this experience for you?
It was actually amazing. It just made my day to have somebody listen to me without interrupting and be genuinely interested in what I had to say. It's completely unscripted. These are my personal beliefs, personal opinions, and hopefully this will reach you and maybe it'll make an impact in your life.
Would you recommend this for anybody else? If
Absolutely. Don't be afraid to talk.
Would you do it again?
I would absolutely do it again.